Aloha and good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here in the H&N Digital Center. I'm Dylan Ancheta alongside our Emily Cristobal, and we are tracking some severe weather. Gusty and blustery winds are sweeping through the state. Right now we have our reporter Annalisa Burgos. She is standing by live along Kokea Street at Dillingham, where I believe some down poles damaged some cars. Annalisa, what's it looking like out there?
Right. Hey, Dylan. We are here on Kokea Street between King and Dillingham, as you mentioned. You can see right behind me one of those down poles. There's about 5 of them, according to the officials here on site. And it was a pretty scary time. I've been talking to some of the drivers. You know, their cars are still left here. They were told not to drive until those wires have been cleaned up. But let me show and introduce you to some of them now. This is David, Sige, and Clarita. Let's start with David first. David, you know, you were driving. This car over here is yours. What did you see? What was it like?
I just saw the pole slowly come down, and then I saw the one behind me in the rear view mirror like hit the ground, and I pretty much just saw all the lines get tangled in the cars and stuff, and everyone was so confused what to do. So like we just got out of the car and just got away out of the car, like go on the side so we don't like get hurt or anything.
It must have been scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily you're okay. Most of you guys are okay. No one got injured. That's the good news. So now you're just waiting, it looks like.
Yep.
Okay, and Sige, you know, we just spoke to an officer who came over to tell you guys, give you an update on what HECO is doing with the power lines and your cars. What did they tell you?
Well, he told me that HECO guys are here, but it's not going to be an hour or so, but it's going to be a really, really long work they're going to do. So if I want to go to the bathroom and like that, just go ahead and do and get a lunch or whatever. But if you want to just go home and come back, and so he can leave a note on my windshield. So I just give him my phone number and the information about me, and so they can call me. So
We saw your car over here. Did it sustain some damage?
I don't know. The wire fell on me, and then it's on the other side of the car, so I just can't see. But when I was driving, the pole was coming down, and then the car in front of me, it's landed on the car just in front of me, so I think that car was pretty bad.
Wow, what were you thinking when the pole came down? You saw that crashing onto the car in front of you.
Well, it was just scary, you know. I expected it, right? You were just scared.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but luckily you are unhurt also.
Yeah, my wife was me, and she's somewhere else right now, but she was kind of panicking. Yeah.
I can imagine. And you guys live in Makakilo, but you're going to be stuck here for a little bit, it sounds like.
Not a little bit. It's going to be a long time.
Well, I'm glad you are in a good mood, considering, you know, you were facing life and death just a few moments ago.
Yeah, well, you know, can't help. I just gotta wait. Well, thank God. Anyway, we are okay.
Yeah, good. And with your fellow drivers here with you, and Clarita over here, I wanted to bring over. She has been FaceTiming and talking to relatives, telling them that she's okay. How are you feeling?
Oh, I feel nervous because it suddenly I seen that when I'm driving down to Dillingham. Oh, I seen the pole coming up, and then thanks God, I seen it all. So I pressed my brake, and then I said, "Oh, I need help! I need help!" I feel nervous because, you know, for my situation. Yeah. So thanks God, it never happened, and then we will wait until the what you call that?
The power line?
The power line will be okay. And then I trap on the road.
Oh my gosh. God, you know, and it must have been so scary for you because you were just going on your way to the DMV just to do a normal everyday task for your car, and all of a sudden this happens to you. How are you feeling? What are you going to be doing now?
I feel nervous. Talaga, I feel nervous because I never know that it will be happen this. And thanks God, everybody is okay and no one was hurt. Thank you.
Yeah, it could have been much worse. Oh, and we do have. Did you want to give us an update? Okay, sorry. I just saw the HPD here. They've been very good about about responding to the customers or the drivers. They've been very good, I have to say. We've been observing them, assisting, getting emergency supplies. One driver, she actually had left some food in her car, and she was diabetic and needed to get them, and they helped assist her with that, because it is kind of a dangerous situation with live wiring. So they've been very helpful for all the people affected. But so back here, as you can see, these are the cars that are waiting. Okay, we're going to walk a little bit closer to the thing. Thank you, everyone. So those were just some of the drivers that narrowly escaped death, I have to say. These are the cars. Look at that one, that white one right there where the police officer is. That was Clarita's car. That's Clarita's car, the woman that we just heard from, who was just driving on her way to the DMV, and then all of a sudden there comes a pole crashing down and the wires on top of her car. And then this one over here, that blue one, was David's. So you can see that, he didn't have any wires either. But again, that's the situation here on Kokea. I just wanted to, give you some of the feedback from a lot of the drivers. Scary, but they're, I have to say, in positive moods. Just thankful that no one got hurt, no one got injured at all. Everyone pretty much escaped unscathed. Dylan, isn't that amazing? I'm just kind of shocked here, just looking at just how bad it could have been.
Yeah, definitely. That is, thankfully that no injuries have been reported in this case so far. Annalisa, we appreciate your live report there. Thank you so very much. We're going to let you guys go ahead and break down. I know you got a story to fulfill for the evening newscast, but our Annalisa Burgos live at Kokea Street and Dillingham. Thank you so much once again for that, Annalisa. We also want to turn now to some other new images that we just got into our newsroom right here. Emily, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so out on the Likelike Highway, there was a fallen tree. This is closing Kaneohe-bound lanes, and obviously officers and emergency crews are working to help those that are there. We are hearing from EMS that a woman was taken to the hospital in serious condition. We are awaiting more information on that. But right now, you can see these strong winds are really causing some traffic jams, especially on the Likelike Highway. Again, this is blocking Kaneohe-bound lanes on Likelike Highway.
Yeah, and the Likelike is a major thoroughfare, and so oftentimes when we have severe weather, we see things like this. Sometimes we've had close calls in the past where we've caught video of trees coming down right before cars, and unfortunately sometimes they do land on cars and it does result in some injuries. Again, we are working to fully confirm the extent of injuries in this case. We are in touch with EMS and awaiting more details. I also want to take you guys live outside right now. This is our live camera looking out over Honolulu. You see it, it's blowing around right now. That is not a cameraman fiddling with the camera. That is the winds pushing that around. We also saw several other down poles and street closures. Emily, do you have any more information on that?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously at the scene that Annalisa was on, that was Kokea Street in Kalihi. There were multiple down poles there. And also in Makiki, a down pole was also knocking out power for about 70 customers. So in those instances, HECO is also working to restore power as soon as possible. And we will keep you updated on the latest with that. And also on Maui, there were some blown trees that fell onto some Hawaiian electric lines. And that also knocked out power to customers in Olinda and Upcountry.
Do we know about how many customers are without power? I'm trying to pull up right now HECO outage map, which is a good tool to kind of keep an eye on things. And right here, let me see. I can't pull this up for you folks on screen, but it does look like there are a number of small outages scattered throughout. Nothing major right now, which is seemingly good. Less than 500 people, less than 100 in certain areas. So here on Oahu, at least, it looks like crews are doing their very best to keep the power on. Once again, giving you one more live look outside over Honolulu. The very, very strong winds will be blowing around for the next few days. I also want to show you guys some more video from that scene. Once again, this was at Kokea Street here. This is where you just heard that live report from our Annalisa Burgos. Take a look at some of that, Emily. That is some incredible, incredible images right there.
Yes.
And this is actually just down the street from where we are.
Yeah, it's causing some serious damages. As you can see, the poles are snapped in half, and HECO is trying their best to get these poles back up, making sure that the people that were in these cars are okay. Obviously, there's damage, and just trying to make sure the scene is safe. There's no time estimate at this time as to when these roads will be reopened, but as you can see with all these downed poles, it's probably going to take some time.
Yeah, and one other important thing to note, if you come across downed poles, authorities advise you to stay away from them. Do not cross them. Do not touch them. If you happen to be in your car and power lines come down, stay in your car. Do not open your door. Call for emergency assistance. Look at the sheer force of that. That is a power pole snapped in half like a toothpick, falling on the tail end of that Mazda right there. Powerful images. We also want to note that if you come across any severe weather in your neighborhood, be sure to send it to us via, we have this thing called Burst. You can also email them to us to news, NEWS, @hawaiinewsnow.com. Right now, I want to read some information from the National Weather Service. Just a short time ago, around 12:17, they issued a high wind warning. That high wind warning will be in effect until 6 a.m. Friday for most of Oahu. It will also be in effect for the Kohala Mountains and Waimea areas on Hawaii Island. Higher elevations, leeward areas, the summits of Mauna Kea, Mauna Loa, and Haleakala can expect some very strong gusts. It says here, localized winds, east winds 30 to 35 miles with gusts over 60. There is also a wind advisory. Eastern winds around 30 miles per hour with localized gusts over 50 are expected. Again, the portions of the island or the state that are expected to see the brunt of these strong winds: Oahu, mainly near leeward facing slopes, including Honolulu, Central Valley, and higher elevations. So again, this high wind warning is in effect until Friday morning. So in the meantime, tie down loose items around your house. Be sure to take precautions. If you see anything happening in your neighborhood, again, be sure to send it to us and essentially stay indoors. Now's not the time to go outside and be, wild with filming videos or putting yourself in danger, essentially.
Absolutely. And, thinking of going to the beach too, if you have any tents up, umbrellas, like Dylan said, make sure they're tied down, or maybe not put it up at all because it might get blown away. With gusts of 60 miles per hour, that's really strong winds out there.
Definitely some strong stuff there. So we are going to continue monitoring all conditions of the weather across the island. But in the meantime, we are going to play a recap of today's big stories. Earlier, we covered some of this in This Is Now with Mark Carpenter. We're going to start again with the recap of the Turkey-Syria earthquake, in which the death toll there, it is surpassing unimaginable levels. They are still looking for survivors. At last check, the death toll there has been over 20,000. For more on that, here's a report filed by one of our affiliates.
Drone footage taken above Turkey's border with Syria shows the frantic search for life in a sea of devastation. The painstaking operation going from day to night, with crews racing against time. This team in southern Turkey chipped away at a demolished residential building, trying to reach a 40-year-old woman trapped in the rubble.
Trümmerschicht natürlich zu motivieren.
She has several layers of thick concrete on top of her, this worker says. She's lying on her stomach, making the rescue difficult. Unseasonably cold weather, with temperatures dropping 15 degrees lower than normal, as well as flooding, has made the catastrophe even worse.
There are so many that simply cannot go back into their homes.
U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Jeff Flake says the U.S. is sending more aid to help those displaced.
We have Black Hawks available that are flying missions to get relief workers where they need to go, as well as evacuate those who are hurt.
The United Nations Secretary General confirmed a UN aid convoy made it from Turkey into northwest Syria for the first time since the earthquake.
It included 6 trucks carrying shelter and other desperately needed relief supplies. More help is on the way, but much more is needed.
The call going out for donations from across the globe amid the unprecedented disaster. Tina Krause, CBS News.
Honolulu police are issuing a safety warning for courier drivers. A spokesperson said a string of armed robberies on Oahu have targeted at least 3 drivers. In each case, the drivers were threatened with handguns or tasers. And in one instance, police said a victim was physically assaulted. Officials said all of the incidents have happened in the last 2 weeks. The suspects all fled to waiting vehicles, possibly a gray Honda or white Toyota Sienna. Police say the suspects are known to work in groups. Anyone who may have witnessed the robberies is asked to call 911. A jury has found Lindsay Kinney guilty of threatening to kill a Waianae Harbor master and his family after his boat was impounded. The FBI arrested Kinney last April after he posted threatening videos on social media. He'll now be sentenced on May 23rd. Kinsey is also a key witness in the case against accused crime boss Mike Miskey after allegedly turning down Miskey's request to kill a man.
For the first time, the state health department is describing video showing the toxic spill at Red Hill, and calls are growing for its full release to the public. Mahealani Richardson has the exclusive.
I spoke one-on-one with the health department, the deputy commander of the Red Hill Joint Task Force, and the U.S. EPA. Tonight, there is still no date for when video and a military investigative report will be made public, but the pressure is mounting for its release.
The release itself happened from a bypass valve kind of thing that they had put on actually to prevent releases.
In early December, the Department of Health and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency viewed military video of the November 28th spill of 1,300 gallons of toxic firefighting foam concentrate, or AFFF, from the Red Hill fuel facility. Phoenix Grange, DOH's groundwater lead, told Hawaii News Now she saw that the video is from a camera focused on a door, and the spill runs under it.
See people coming in and out. At some point, you see the AFFF compound, which just looks like water in that case, coming out from that and moving. It's outside of the facility.
If we want to maintain good integrity of the investigation, the video is considered evidence.
Brigadier General Lance Okamura, deputy commander of the Red Hill Joint Task Force, told HNN the investigation is being reviewed by U.S. Indo-Pacific Command.
Why has it taken so long for the investigation and for video of the spill to be released publicly?
We have to follow the rules, and we're following those rules. And in short, I'm sure it's causing some consternation about timeliness.
There's no reason that the public should be barred from getting basic information and security footage that documents a major threat to our sole source aquifer.
It appears to be hurting your credibility with the public. Is that acceptable for you?
I'm fully empathetic to the public. We need to follow the process of identifying exactly what occurred, and more importantly, what are some of the remedial actions that need to be taking place.
The EPA also wants to know about the military's historical releases of AFFF. That deadline passed on Monday.
We have not received an updated time frame. We've been asking and requiring of the Navy to provide that information as soon as it is available.
Now, DH's groundwater lead says the compounds in PFAS, that's the chemicals in AFFF, are like dish soap, which break down oils. Now, the concern is if the AFFF migrates far down into the aquifer and runs into past fuel spills, it could cause the fuel to spread. I'm Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Today marks 22 years since the Ehime tragedy, in which 9 people died when a U.S. nuclear submarine collided with a Japanese training boat off of Oahu's south shore. 4 of those killed were high school students from Uojima Fisheries School. To remember those lost, a ceremony will be held this afternoon at a memorial at Kaka'ako Waterfront Park.
Hawaii lawmakers are once again taking a closer look at gambling laws. For more on this, let's bring in our Daryl Huff. Daryl, what's new today?
Well, actually, what's funny about this year is that there doesn't seem to be any real prospect for new legalization of gambling. The one bill that had a chance, which was the sports betting bill coming up just a week before the Super Bowl, basically got killed yesterday. The House has told me they have no more interest in gambling, and also the Senate has only very wavering small interest. The gambling advocates were counting on the House. It looks like we're not going to get any gambling legalization this year. But on the other hand, the concerns about gambling and troubled people gambling, is still front and center with all of the messaging that comes into people about gaming. And so today there was a very interesting hearing about a bill that would ban advertising for Vegas packages that are very encouraging of gambling. You see people going, yay, I won a lot of money in these commercials. And they attract people to go to Vegas. This bill basically was trying to discourage that by, 1, banning the advertising entirely in the state of Hawaii, and 2, imposing quite a large 30% excise tax on the people who package Vegas tours. Now, there's one really big operator like that, Vacations Hawaii. They were against it, obviously. They said that such a tax would actually be hard to enforce because actually most of the money gets spent in Vegas, and so it might not be that much money, but it's a really strong message. And in the end, the committee decided, okay, we're going to impose this tax. We're going to take the money and we're going to use it to treat gambling addictions and to do some research, because there really is not very much information about how much problem gambling there is in Hawaii.
Yeah, you've been listening to that hearing earlier this morning. I want you to talk a little bit about what happened in that hearing, but also listening to the testimony and listening to both sides. What is the reasoning behind a measure like this?
Well, again, it's because Hawaii has a gambling problem. We have a lot of people who love to gamble. We have illegal gambling rooms all over the state that have led to crime, drugs, all kinds of organized gangsterism going on around these game rooms because people want to gamble. We have this huge flow of people to the 9th Island, Las Vegas. Yet the health department does not have any idea how many problem gamblers there are. There is literally no support for gambling treatment here in Hawaii. I've tried to contact Gambling Anonymous a couple times, and they have very few meetings here, very few little leadership here. So the idea is to basically try and discourage gambling through these means beyond just banning it here in the state of Hawaii.
Yeah. And real quickly, going back to that hearing earlier today, what happened there?
So anyway, like I said, this bill had 2 parts. One was a ban on advertising of Vegas tours specifically, and the other was the tax. The Attorney General's office came in and said it's probably unconstitutional to ban advertising of anything that is a legal activity that's also truthful advertising. So they said that's probably completely unconstitutional. So that was pretty easy. The lawmakers just said, well, we can't do that. And then the next thing, though, was this discussion about the tax, which was prompted by a national expert who testified. He's from Hawaii, working in New York, and he said that he was dismayed by how little information there is in Hawaii about problem gambling. And so that, I think, inspired the committee to go ahead and keep this tax in place to try and generate a little bit of money to focus on that problem.
Got it. Our Daryl Huff, thank you so much for your insight on this. And Daryl, will be back with our later shows with more on this topic coming up on Hawaii News Now. Nuclear-armed North Korea showcased its missile production during a nighttime parade Wednesday, showing off more intercontinental ballistic missiles than ever before. Footage released by KRT State Media showed as many as 11 of North Korea's largest ICBMs, which are suspected to be able to strike nearly anywhere in the world with a nuclear warhead. They were first tested last year. Alongside them at the parade were what some analysis said could be a prototype or mock-up of a new solid-fuel ICBM in canister launchers. Leader Kim Jong-un attended the Grand Military Showcase with his daughter, who is seen as playing a possible future leadership role in the dictatorship. North Korea held the parade in Pyongyang to mark the 75th anniversary of the founding of its army, according to state media. While more Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week, Thursday, the Labor Department reported that the first-time applications for unemployment benefits rose last week to 196,000. That's 13,000 more than the previous week and about 6,000 more than economists were expecting. The report comes after recent layoffs from tech giants, media companies, and the financial sector. However, the U.S. labor market remains robust after 8 rate hikes in the past 11 months meant to cool the economy. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell promised Tuesday to keep raising interest rates as long as necessary to tamp down historic inflation.
Well, another busy week in our nation's capital, and here to break it all down is Hawaii News Now Washington correspondent Peter Zampa. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. A bunch of different topics to touch on today. Let's start with this. We're learning more about the Chinese spy balloon that was flying over the U.S. What is the latest on that front?
Lawmakers were briefed on this today, and they're understanding that that balloon was capable of intercepting U.S. communications. So obviously a concerning sign, but folks are still split along party lines mostly about how the Biden administration handled this spy balloon. Democrats say they handled it with care, shooting it down over the coast of South Carolina so as to limit damage. And now the recovery process is underway, maybe learning things from the shrapnel left behind. Republicans say that the way the White House handled it made it look weak in not shooting it down before it got to mainland U.S. or even during. So obviously still some division on that front. But the House of Representatives, there was no division in condemning China today for this spy balloon, a 419-0 vote officially condemning them. It's more of a symbolic measure, but each member of Congress, each member of the House of Representatives on record condemning China.
Now, also happening on the Hill, Southwest Airlines executive testified before Congress today, just following a disastrous holiday season. What were the key takeaways?
Yeah, Mark, I think this was a hearing a lot of Americans were hoping to see happen. Is the Senate Commerce Committee really grilling the chief operating officer of Southwest Airlines today? And the key takeaways were that Southwest still has a long ways to go in gaining the trust back of the American public. Senators were asking them what moves they're making to ensure that this never happens again. And they're saying they will have some new technology rolled out. It could take some time to deal with weather events like other airlines deal with it because they were sort of running a lower budget operation there, but the point that came out of it was they're trying to do better. It may not come immediately, but to gain the trust back, it's going to take some time.
That's right, and the biggest measure is going to be the next holiday season. To our next big topic, members of Congress are still looking to oust Representative George Santos. We saw the icy exchange he had with Senator Mitt Romney at the night of the State of the Union. What are the latest on those efforts to have him removed?
House Democrats, a group of them, took to the House steps today to announce they're filing an official resolution to expel George Santos from Congress. They filed it in the House Ethics Committee, and we should make it known that the House is still run by Republicans, so it will be up to them whether this resolution sees floor time. But Democrats have some maneuvers they can take to make sure that this does get on the House floor so that every member of the House has to make it known which way they stand. Republicans might be a little apprehensive about bringing this to the House floor because, of course, they need this vote. They need this Republican vote with a slim majority in the House of Representatives. But it's clear that folks on both sides of the aisle are concerned about George Santos' presence in the House.
There's always some drama happening in Washington. Now, finally, the president continues to hit the road. Today, he is in Florida, making a stop in Tampa. What was his message there?
Yeah, Mark, this is sort of the victory lap after the State of the Union speech, hammering home his point to one of the more elderly states in our union, the state of Florida, that he plans to protect Social Security and Medicare at all costs. Folks will remember that was a big moment in his speech the other night when he was sort of sparring with Republicans on the floor of the House about not cutting Social Security and Medicare. And he wanted to reiterate to a more friendly crowd that he does not want that to happen, and he doesn't want Republicans to do that either when we start talking about raising the debt limits and making other potential spending cuts.
In Washington, there's always something to discuss, always something to break down. Covering it all, Hawaii News Now Washington correspondent Peter Zampa. Peter, thank you so much. Have a great day. Well, the nation's egg shortage is driving up demand at local farms, keeping restaurants on their toes. Jolani Martinez has more on the eggflation caused by avian flu.
Waialua Fresh is normally open Friday through Sunday, but because the demand for eggs is so high, they've added another day for sales. $4 through
ago, we doubled in what we would normally make on a weekend.
Christina Torres, the food safety quality assurance supervisor at Waialua Fresh, says they've been seeing plenty new faces swing by the farm. Stacey Pyler is one of them.
It's my first time here, yes.
Rising prices led to her interest in the farm.
It's ridiculous. I can't believe the prices, with everything else with the other foods too. But so for $4 a flat, you can't go wrong.
They're selling checked eggs, which have weaker shells and possible hairline cracks. But they're still safe and can last as long as 45 days.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Oh, you too. They're only sold at the farm, not to retailers. With demand for eggs up, Waialua Fresh is expediting plans to build more barns.
We're currently building 6 more barns, so it just takes time. We wish we could have had them built before all this happened. We're not immune to inflation, so our carton cost and feed costs has gone up as well.
Eateries like L&L are also trying to cope with the sticker shock.
So it used to be about $70, $80 per case. It's about 360 eggs, but then right now it went up to $179 to $200.
For now, it will keep their most popular egg dish, the Loco Moco, on their menu.
If the next few months the prices doesn't go down, we might remove some of the items from our menu.
L&L's VP says the chain is considering buying local because of costs, and it's not the only restaurant that may make the change.
We probably get a couple calls a day from different restaurants asking if they can swing by and pick up, and again, we're helping out as much as we can.
The Hawaii Restaurant Association anticipates relief from the avian outbreak by the spring or summer. Delani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
A big loss in the music industry today. Prominent composer and songwriter Burt Bacharach has died. He's the man behind over 50 top 10 hits like Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and That's What Friends Are For. His work landed him 8 Grammy Awards and 2 Oscars. He was 94 years old.
Yes, and here's a live look from our tower cam. As you can see, the camera is bouncing around, and that's because of the strong winds that we're experiencing right now on Oahu. And like that alert says, there is a high wind warning in effect right now, and it is until 6 a.m. tomorrow. So this is for parts of Oahu and the Big Island. And just want to do a quick recap of some road closures to look out for. There was a fallen tree that has closed the Kaneohe-bound lanes of Like Highway just before the tunnel. And this happened about just before noon, but there is no word yet on when those lanes would be cleared. There are also crews working to restore multiple downed utility poles, including several on Kokea Street in Kalihi. And in Makiki, a downed pole has knocked out power to roughly 70 customers. And according to Hiko's Twitter account, they said that it might be restored until 8 p.m. So watch out for those.
Yeah, definitely. Emily, we also are getting some new video. Some of this we played before, but we're also getting some new images from that down tree on the Like. Of course, drivers should be advised to avoid that area. As you can see, cleanup efforts are well underway. Again, we're still working on gathering details on the injuries there. I don't believe we have, or I'm not sure if we've seen anything from EMS at this point, but again, we are working to confirm that there. Earlier today, our Annalisa Burgos was out there at Kokea Street where those poles came down on the cars. She spoke with some people there, and she also had filed this interview with one gentleman who I believe his truck was impacted by the down poles. I'm going to go ahead and play that out for you folks.
I was just driving down the road and a big gust of wind came, and I saw this pole right here just slowly come down, and then the cables were up against my side window. And I put it in park, I grabbed my key, and I opened the door, and I jumped out the passenger side. I wasn't sure if the wires were live. It was a little freaky at first, but like I said, I just jumped out and checked to make sure everybody was okay. Yeah. Some people on the other side of the road had the wires laying right on top of their car. And so just checking to make sure everybody's okay.
Definitely. Safety is priority in every situation like this. Once again, if you come across downed wires, stay clear of them because you never know if those wires are live. Touching them could result in electric shock, so be aware of your surroundings. And again, if you are in your vehicle when a pole comes down or a power line, stay in your car, avoid touching any metal, and call emergency authorities right away. But that does it for us, folks, here in the H&N Digital Center. Our First Alert weather team will have all the latest on your severe weather conditions coming up. One more live look outside here over Honolulu. Take a look at that. Emily, the cameras are just bouncing around today.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, this is just a reminder. Please, like, with the strong winds, it's most encouraged to stay indoors and make sure that things are tied down. These strong winds can damage roofs, knock down trees, and cause other unpredictable damages. So be careful out there.
Yeah, once again, the high wind warning is in effect until 6 a.m. Friday for parts of Oahu and Hawaii Island. Leeward areas, slopes, and hillside definitely can be seeing some of the strongest gusts, which are expected to be upwards of 60 miles per hour at its strongest, and these winds could last until tomorrow at least. But again, be sure to stick with Hawaii News Now for your latest severe weather first alert forecast on your H&N digital platforms and on air. Aloha, folks.